Hey TCS TV viewers, it's Dave from the camera store, and today we have the brand new Nikon Z6 II. The Nikon Z6 has always been a very popular camera. Now the Z6 II or Z6 Mark II, whatever you want to call it, is an enhanced version of that camera. It has a lot of similarities to an already fantastic camera. I'm going to walk you through those updates and those advancements, as well as my own thoughts on what I think they should have put into this camera as well. The big headline of this camera is that we now have two processors. It's the XP6 processor that's not new from Nikon, but now we have two of them. Nikon claims it's going to enhance the capabilities of this camera in its autofocus and some other features as well. We had a chance to go down to our really good friend's place, Rodney's Oyster House, to photograph the chef preparing some seafood and also photograph some of their plates of food in a real-world shoot to see what this camera is all about. At the heart of the Z6 Mark II is a 24 megapixel sensor. Now it's the same sensor that we found in the Z6, and that's okay because it's a great sensor. It's more than enough resolution for the application we're using today at Rodney's Oyster House, but it gives us great image quality, it gives us great detail, also gives us great dynamic range with this sensor, and I like the color I'm getting out of it. It was a lot of fun shooting there because we had plate after plate of amazing seafood being brought out to us by Ricardo, the chef. But it's not really a great test for the camera when it comes to autofocus because it's all a static subject. Where I had a lot of fun with this camera is when we went into the kitchen, we got to see Ricardo in his element. Now this man loves to cook and he makes some amazing quality food. So being back in the kitchen with him and he's frying up some scallops and there's some fire and some steam and all kinds of stuff, I put the camera in face and eye detection and it worked incredibly well. Now Ricardo was by himself in the kitchen for this shoot, so the camera could easily identify his face and it did a great job of that. Something I'm really curious about, which is an enhancement on this camera, is to go face and eye detection in wide tracking focus. As you can see in this example, using face and eye detection in wide area tracking is great. You can see as I'm approaching the camera, that zone is off of Ivy and Evelyn, and it's just concentrating on looking for a face and an eye in the zone. That's where I came in, so I get all the glory in this shot. As I come forward, it follows my face and my eye, completely ignoring the super cute baby and of course the lovely Evelyn. This is a really nice tool to have at your disposal. If there's more than one face in your frame that you don't really want to focus on, you can just tell the camera, this is the zone I want you to look for faces and eyes, and it's going to do a great job of that. It's a really nice addition, allows me to isolate the subject a lot more accurately. In our shoot today, I wasn't able to tell any discernible difference between the Z6 and the Z6 II's autofocusing system, and that's great because they both work very well. I love the results that I'm getting with their autofocus. That dual processor also helps us with low light autofocus performance. We're down to -4.5 now. If you take a look at this example of us focusing in a very dark back hallway, you can see how well it actually acquires focus. Something else those dual processors give you is the ability now to shoot up to 14 frames per second. Now that sounds very exciting, but you have to shoot single autofocus point and only in 12-bit RAW. Step it back down to 12 frames a second and you're still good with tracking focus and higher image quality. In testing this camera, I kept it at 12 frames per second because I like the tracking. I have a lot more options to choose from in an action sequence, for instance. It's going to be rare occasions that those extra 2 frames are going to make all the difference for the sacrifices that you have to do because of it. I've always liked the Z6. When I first picked it up, I thought this is a great feeling camera. And the Z6 II feels remarkably the same. It is slightly wider, and that's because it has dual card slots now. And that's a great option. We now have an SD card slot and an XQD card or a CF Express card slot. Now the SD card is UHS 2 compatible, which is nice. And I really like the fact that you can use either an XQD card or you can use a CF Express card. You don't need to designate one or the other. That's a really nice touch. I appreciate that. The rear screen is articulating, but it is not fully articulating off to the side, and I found that to be a bit of a hindrance today when I was shooting the food. When I was shooting the overhead shots, I would have liked to have the more flexibility with this screen, but it certainly lends itself and works quite well if I'm using waist level shooting kind of position. It works well for me. The other side of the camera here, of course, we have all of our ports. We have a USB-C port and a mini HDMI, along with a microphone jack and a headphone jack. And I love having a headphone jack on a camera like this because monitoring your audio when you're recording it is extremely important. When it comes to powering this camera, it uses the same battery we found on the Z5. That's the EN-EL15C, and the C stands for capacity. It's about 20% higher capacity than the previous generation. It does allow you to charge the battery in camera. It is also compatible with the older EN-EL15 batteries though. I've always liked the feel and the handling of the Z series cameras. I think they've done a very good job. Ergonomically, it feels great with a nice deep grip to it. Buttons and controls are well laid out and they feel high quality. I'm also still really appreciative of how good the high relief is on this viewfinder. Now it's the same viewfinder as the Z6, 3.69 million dots of resolution with some great quality glass in front of it. If you like the feeling and handling of the Z6 and the Z7 from Nikon, you're going to feel right at home with the Z6 too. A really nice but simple addition to their menu system is through their quick menu. I can now choose between animals and humans when it comes to face and eye detection, rather than having to dig through the menu system to switch that on or off. I quite like that they've been listening to people and their needs and make this system a lot easier to kind of work with. Today at Rodney's Oyster House, we had our choice of lenses to shoot the food with. We brought along the 14-24 Z mount. We also brought along the 35 and also the 50 Z mount. That actually surprised me. 50mm is not my favorite focal length for most things I do, but in this aspect, shooting food in these plates, it worked fantastic. Now, if you are an f-mount user and you still have an assortment of f-mount lenses, you can still put them on with the FTZ adapter and it works flawlessly. Here in this example, we're using the 105 macro, which is a great lens from Nikon in their f-mount, but you can adapt easily and it works perfectly with the new Z series camera. Today at Rodney's, we concentrated mainly on still photography, but the Z6 II is a very powerful video tool as well. The Z6 was already impressive specs when it came to video, and this only builds upon it. Now we also have 4K 60p all internal, which is really nice. Keep in mind this is not in the camera yet, but is coming with a free firmware update in the next couple months. And with a paid upgrade, now we can shoot external RAW. The Z6 II is definitely an upgrade from the Z6, but I don't know if it's a substantial one. I would have liked to have seen a higher resolution viewfinder put in this camera. Rather than the 3.69 million dot viewfinder, we have a lot of 5.69 million viewfinders on the market. Why not put one of those into this camera here? I'd also like to see a higher frame rate that actually tracks focus. We have a few cameras on the market now that are doing 20 frames a second with continuous tracking. Now, I do appreciate the fact that there are dual card slots in this camera. My only preference would be that they were the same card type. Rather than having to carry around two different types of media, I only need to carry around one. It makes my life a little simpler. Now, I of course want to know what you guys think of this camera. Is it a worthy upgrade to the Z6? Is it a minor upgrade? Would you upgrade yourself if you already own a Z6? Please leave comments down below and let me know what you think. Follow us on Instagram and subscribe. Hit the notification bell and we'll catch you again next time. I think the ducks enjoyed that last episode, but if you want to check out our most recent episode, click up here, and if you're Canadian and want to shop local at the camera store, click down here.